What's up, Charles?
Oh, brother, it's Friday. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Well, you know what? We're not going to let it deter us. We're just going to keep moving. How about that?
How about that?
All right. Got a little bit of delay on your end, but we're going to work with it. We're going to work with it and keep it going. All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
All right. Let's get into it, man. We got a lot to talk about today, as usual. So I can't even pretend that we've had a shortage of stuff to talk about lately. So
This is correct.
where do we start?
Oh, brother. Why don't we start by paying our respects to Cicely Tyson. Beautiful life well lived. How about that?
You know what? I think that's a great place to start. And as we think about this year and the ones that have gone that we've lost some titans, some true titans between last year and this year. And so I didn't realize Cicely was 96 years old because she is still just was so beautiful, so graceful. And man, I think she was acting up until she left here, right? Because she was still in stuff.
She was.
So, I mean, that's the testament. I was looking at a picture of her in her early years, and man, she still got it at 96. Man, that skin was still flawless. So definitely trip outs, and then the legendary work that she's done is just phenomenal. Because you know she did not really kick her career off to a little bit later because she said she did not want to take part in the black exploitation movies that was happening in the 60s and 70s. And so just she has a memoir that was just released. So I'm sure there's just a lot to know about Cicely Tyson. So it looks like Charles is having some technical difficulties over there. So while he continues to work and figure that out, let me see. We'll see if we can get him back. There he is. All right, Charles. I don't know if you could hear me on any of that because you were frozen for a little bit. Can you hear me?
But I'm having some technical difficulty. I'm going to have to go out and come back in. So talk about Cicely for a little bit.
All right, we'll do. So and we'll take him out until he comes back in. So when you think about Cicely Tyson, and I love to hear the comments that you guys have and what you know about Cicely, but I just, so many legendary things, so many legendary accomplishments, so many firsts for her. But what is the Cicely Tyson in your life, right? What are your thoughts about Cicely Tyson? What are your fondest memories, your favorite movies, your favorite Broadway shows? Talk to us. I got the Town Shaker poet in the house, so I know you got something to say. So he says, what a blessing to humanity. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So Curtis, what were some of your fondest memories of Cicely and some of her accomplishments? I'd love to hear that as well. As he puts it, and the rest of you join in. I love to hear, your wonderful thoughts about Cicely Tyson. I'll tell you this, and she's had a lot of great roles. And so the role that I remember her best of wasn't even on the chart of what most people's going to say, which is some of her greatest and iconic roles. It wasn't. It was actually a Tyler Perry movie, Family Reunion, and it was just the way that the few words that she said and the way she expressed them when she talked about family. And that in that moment, it shook me because I realized that sometimes, and a lot of times for me, getting busy, doing this, and you take for granted the things that matter the most, which is family, which is your friends and loved ones. Because when it's all said and done, that's who's going to run to your rescue. That's who you call at 3 o'clock in the morning when something of emergency happens. And so we got to make sure that we give time to those people. And I'm talking to me, so I'm really not talking to you. I'm talking to me, but giving time to the individuals that are special in your life and make sure that they know they're special and make sure that they feel special. And sometimes we don't do a good job of spreading that around to all the people that matter. So that's my teachable moment for today. I see we got Charles back. Let me test the audio on you, Charles. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. What about now?
Oh yeah. You I can see time on you like a clock, buddy. So we good to go.
All right. Yeah, I heard everything you were saying about Cicely. I sent you one of my favorite pictures. It's not a roll. It's actually her picture, photograph on the album cover of The Sorcerer by Miles Davis. So I share that with the audience. I'm pretty sure many people have already seen it, but young Cicely, despite the travails of trying to deal with Miles Davis, she's still a beautiful human being inside and out, and she weathered all the storms.
That she did, and she did indeed. Hey, Mom has joined us. Hello, Mom. All right. Just going to let that set up for a minute. We'll take a moment of silence in honor of Cicely Tyson.
Well, before you come all the way out of your moment of zen for Cicely, would you put up Seku's photo that I sent you? True Blue Jacksonian.
Absolutely.
48 years old, Jackson State University alumni. A lot of people are familiar with his work from the Clarion Ledger days, and he rolls all the way up to NBA TV and had his own blog, and he was one of the people that the players turned to get their stories out because they knew he was going to do it right. And so a real one lost to COVID. Think about his family, his wife and kids. Our condolences to them and to the entire Jackson State family.
Yes, indeed. And Charles, when you think about that, just some of us who still think that you can't be young, you can't go. I mean, he was in our era. That's our generation. And so COVID doesn't have any respect of age.
No, it does not. So,
despite what they say, it does not.
No, it does not. Speaking of which, looks like our new president has his hands full with a COVID pandemic that's running wild, with no forethought from his predecessor on how to get vaccinations done in the last mile. Now, I want to give credit. I want to be specific in how I state this list.
Okay.
Because I think it is important to say, okay, Operation Warp Speed has produced several vaccines that are going to help us in the long run. But when you are the federal government, you have to have an eye for details. General Honore is famous for saying, if you're good, you can get it done. But if you're a professional, you think about logistics. And that's where we are sorely lacking right now, is logistics, especially in underserved communities of color that need the vaccine. So that's got to be corrected.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's and there's still a lot of misinformation out, right? So I'll just take myself, for instance. In some cases I can see where there are cases where people, even in my age bracket, can get the vaccine if you qualify under certain conditions, but just finding out where to go, since it was handled beforehand by every state, there was no uniform process. So there was no uniform system in place. So you still really don't know where to go to get information at times, and that's frustrating. And so they are working it out. But you inherited a system that wasn't there, so you're having to build a system.
Yeah,
there was no system to revise. There was no system to improve and make better. There was no system.
This is correct, and there was no. The numbers were kind of the numbers, the data, the charts, the graphs. A lot of that stuff that they showed us was not, let's just say, clean or pure or science based on science and facts. It was based on unrealistic expectations and conjecture to make political points at the expense of people's lives. And so that's a huge redirect.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, there's no really a way around that, right? I mean, the facts of the matter is, anytime you're talking about mobilizing a vaccine for 250 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the massive. There's never been an event before in history where you've got to mobilize 250 million people at one time. So there's no precursor to this. So that means you definitely have to have a system. You have to take the biggest events and lessons we've learned and put a system in place to have any chance, remote chance of success. So when there's no system in place, you have chaos, because that's when the CDC can't tell me how many vaccines we have, how many vaccines have been shipped. A state doesn't know how many vaccines they're receiving or when they will receive their next shipment. So they can't plan appropriately. So it's chaos, because you cannot plan when you don't know.
Yeah, and you got to remember too, the time that was supposed to be for a peaceful transfer of power, all the time that we talked about the interregnum and the time in between administrations where information was being shaded and jaded, and President Biden was being shut out of the transition process. This is why, because they knew they didn't have all the information. They knew they didn't have the actual factual to back up what they were telling them. And so they did everything they could to slow it down, slow walk it, so that he wouldn't have the information until after he got in office.
Sure. I mean, we can see it, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's a shame because you're playing politics with people's lives to prove a political point. I just don't get that. But moving on. I wanted to highlight, for me, it's Black History every month, because Black History is made every month. Right. Matter of fact, if you take the black out of the calendar, it won't have no soul. So here's the thing. President Biden, again, most diverse cabinet in history, even more diverse than President Obama. And I wanted to highlight General Austin and soon-to-be cabinet member Fudge, who will be the HUD secretary, Department of Defense, and Housing and Urban Development. First blacks to ever hold those positions. I think that's huge.
That is true. That's very huge, and and for those of who that may not be familiar with, it's Fudge. Now, she was the House of Representative Ohio, right?
Yes. I'm pretty sure we got some Deltas in the house. They know who she is.
I'm sure they do.
Now, she faced some tough questions about whether or not she would be ready and willing to work with Republicans in a bipartisan manner. And I believe she has support from her fellow Ohioans, including Rob Portman, who's stepping down. This should be really interesting once he steps down.
Yeah, I think so. Well, look. Let's deal with some of the elephant in the room because I want to get your thoughts on this.
Okay.
Some interesting stuff happened this week, and I just wanted to get your take on it. So first, let me start with the minority House leader, Kevin McCarthy. He took a trip this week. So we're in the midst of, we need to pass the stimulus plan. We need to be in the midst of negotiations so that we can have a bipartisan plan to get relief to businesses, to get relief to states so they can speed up the distribution, because people don't understand. It's not just getting the vaccines to the state. You got to have somebody to actually physically put that shot in your arm. So you need resources for that, to hire additional people to mobilize so you can get more people vaccine at one time. So Charles, here's the thing. If I only got 100 people that can vaccine, that can actually give the vaccination, there's a limit, maximum limit to the amount of vaccines I can give every day, no matter how many vaccines I have in the fridge.
Yeah, but I want to hear how you're trying to tie this to Kevin McCarthy.
Okay. So here's what I'm saying. So I would think that the priority, considering where we are as a nation, considering we got a new variant out there, that we would be in the House, in DC, working in a bipartisan fashion to get this bill done and approved and get relief out to the states and to the American people. However, he thought a little differently, and he took a trip to see down to Florida to see the former president. So I just wanted your thoughts on that. I got mine, but I wanted to hear yours.
You hear that? So a couple things, Leslie. A couple things. I really don't have much to say other than if what you're saying to me is not I don't know. I feel like it's reverse psychology of some kind because you want me to go on a rant. I don't really have a rant for you other than to say that Kevin McCarthy did what Kevin McCarthy would do. The Republican Party is leaning farther, the farthest I've ever seen them lean, to fringe territory. And that's okay. They have no interest in unity unless it means doing everything that they say do.
That's not unity, and that's not bipartisanship.
Bipartisanship. Well, that's what they're asking for. So you asking me about McCarthy is like saying the sun came up, but it was pink. I mean, he's doing what I would expect him to do. Anytime you put Marjorie Greene Taylor on the education committee and she's a conspiracy theorist about school shootings, you have no interest in unity.
Okay. Well, look, here's my stance on it. I think, because Republican, Democrat, I think this is beyond Republican, Democrat here. I think this is just humanity. And I'm like,
what is humanity?
Humanity is the common good of people. And so the common good of people, in this case, to me, would be to get because it's not like people are not suffering and don't need the vaccine in your state. Yes. It's not like.
But let me remind you, that is your view. There are 75 million other people who don't view it that way.
That is true.
So in their mind, they're wondering why you even need another.
Charles, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I don't think you'll find 75 million other people that don't agree that don't desire to have the vaccine. I don't think 75 million people say they don't want the vaccine, want no part of it, not taking it.
Okay, so let's have that debate.
Okay,
because 75 million people voted for Donald Trump.
Right.
Those 75 million people, the ones who don't agree with the radical position that Trump took after he lost, stayed silent. And they still haven't condemned what happened on January 6th in insurrection and storming the Capitol and putting people's lives at risk. And they still are backing QAnon House of Representative members. We ain't talking about radio people. We're talking about elected officials. So at this point, yes, 75 million people feel that way because silence is acquiescence. Because if you feel different, if you see something, you do what? Say something. It's real simple. If you thought it was wrong, if you think the people actually need this, then why is it only one group of people that are calling for it?
Look, I just think, and maybe I'm naive, but I just think that 75 million people, obviously, I'm not saying they definitely disagree with me and have alternative views on a lot of things, but I think a lot of those 75 million people do indeed believe the vaccine will help solve the problem and fix the issue and want to get it out.
So and we'll take it. That, though. But here's the thing, though. We at a point now where Trump is no longer president. Well, yeah, people are still kowtowing to what he wants. And those who are seeking to fill the vacuum of his leadership in the Republican Party are doing some of the same type of shenanigans, lies, storytelling, distortions of the truth, misinformation. And the masses are not necessarily speaking up. Now, I hear there is a mass exodus of moderates from the Republican Party, but just because you change your party affiliation, that don't mean nothing.
That's true.
You got to give me more at this point.
That's true. But I think, and before we move on, but you got to understand, they're kowtowing to Donald Trump, even though he's still not president. That's not about Donald Trump. That's about their own ambition of what they think. They're trying to get his voter base because of what they're trying to accomplish for themselves.
No, sir. No, sir.
You don't think so?
Here's what I will tell you. And this is my opinion about where we are in America. Donald Trump is a manifestation of the symptom. You ever had a zit on your face and you bust it and the pus comes out? That's Donald Trump. But the core of it was deep off into your face.
Okay.
That's the Republican Party. See, they need those voters, and they're not willing to part with those voters. Right. So now they have become part and parcel of each other.
Because without those 75 million people, they can't win nothing.
Right. So now you taking on whoever, whatever, however. And so to me, obviously, if you're willing to do that as a pure craven power play, then I'm gonna take you at your word. That's what you believe.
Okay. Fair enough.
So all this talk about bipartisan, yeah. If Joe Biden is smart, President Joe Biden, excuse me, if he's smart, yeah, I keep saying bipartisan, but I would really be down there working on my budget reconciliation bill because it's not gonna get passed if you seek them to help you because they're not interested in helping the public.
Yeah.
All they want is that 75 million votes.
And that was my point. It's all about that 75 million votes.
Yeah, but the 75 million, if the only ones you hear are the loudest voices in the room, then their silence becomes complicit.
The problem is you can't get that 75 million without playing to the template that Donald Trump set out.
Yeah, I believe you could.
Well, they're not willing to. They're taking the easy way out.
I believe if you just sat down and had honest conversation and helped people, which is what I'm hoping that President Biden will continue to do, is just be honest and help people. They will see that it's more appealing for the masses than this extreme agenda of hate and racism and xenophobia and whatever other negative term you want to put on it, because that's what it is.
Yeah. Can't dispute that. Well, hey, we beat that pretty hard.
So let's see what the audience got to say. They might have something they want to say on that.
Let's see, guys. If you got any comments, drop them in. Town Shaker Poet in the house, Mom in the house. But drop the comments in, and I'll get them on the screen ASAP. I do want to, as they come in, Charles, I'll get those up. But while we're waiting on those to come in, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk sports a little bit, if I may.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So, Mr. Watson, Deshaun Watson, wants out of H-Town.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember a time that a young franchise quarterback wanted out of the organization. And so what that tells me is that this organization's got problems at the very top. Because when the franchise quarterback leaves, wants out, they just signed a new contract a couple of years ago. You got problems.
Yeah. I mean, look at their top talent. All of them are telling him, hey, if you want out, get out and don't turn back. Because in a sense, they feel like they're wasting the best years of their prime in Houston, because Houston's management is not committed to a spirit of winning, an attitude of winning in the building. They cutting costs and they making rookie mistakes. So, you know.
Well, I mean that's true. They are. It doesn't seem like they're serious about winning. Let's go back. What was last year? They get rid of his most productive, his number one receiver.
Yeah.
you know, and apparently that was done without any talking to him, any input from him.
Exactly. And now you want to talk to him now that you got a new head coach. But you still have some of the same people in the building. If I was him, I'd already have my bags packed.
I think he might.
Yeah.
So, family, tell me what you think about Mr. Watson wanted out of H-Town. If you were Mr. Watson, would you want out of H-Town?
I mean, look at his career thus far. There's only really one quarterback standing between him and productivity-wise. There's only one quarterback ahead of him, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
That's true.
Now, I'm not having an argument about Brady and Rodgers and all of them and Breeze. That's something for another day. But I'm talking about young arm talent in the NFL.
Listen, when you think about what he's done, just from, like you said, number 2 productivity, only behind Mr. Patrick Mahomes, who's going to his second Super Bowl, and he's been in the league, 4 years?
Yeah.
2 back-to-back, and I don't think it'll be his last.
No.
So, and you don't involve your franchise quarterback in the decision to get rid of his number 1 receiver. That's just crazy. So and we know why, because you give the coach, the GM, in full authority of personnel, and he makes a unilateral decision, then you come back and fire the coach 2 months later, because even though he got rid of him, they can't win a game now. You want to look and blame it on the quarterback, but you took all the weapons away. And so I always tell people the number 2 receiver always look good when the number 1 receiver is drawing double coverage. Until that, then you try to make the number 2 number 1. He was number 2 for a reason.
That's right. That's right. Now you talking good football theory.
Just saying. People don't realize that, man. They're like, oh, so and so could go be number 1. Look.
Yeah, no, it takes a special skill set to be that number 1 receiver.
Look, I'm a Steelers fan. You know, I'm still a diehard. I'm black and gold all the way. Yeah, but when we lost Antonio Brown, yes, we had Juju, but Juju is not Antonio Brown. Different type of skill set. And when he went to be number 1, he couldn't get open like Antonio Brown. Right? It's a skill set difference. So it changes the whole offense, and we struggle. When you lose key lineman and rim protection in football, Pittsburgh, who's always been able to run the ball, and this year we finished next to last in rushing.
Liz.
I'm just saying, you can't just interchange parts without having thought into what needs to happen.
Lynn, this conversation is about the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but the point is still the same. They took his most powerful weapon without even talking to him, and then they still wanted him to produce at the same level he did when he had the weapon.
Yeah. No, I think it's time for him to go. I hear the Bears are real interested.
Oh, well, I can't say I blame them.
I'm trying to see what's wrong with the Jets.
It's a whole lot wrong with the Jets. We don't have enough time.
If I was any team that didn't have Patrick Mahomes, I'd at least take the phone call.
Yeah, I really would. I
take that back. Baltimore and Kansas City, I would excuse those two from not taking the phone call.
There's a couple more I'd excuse. I'd excuse Seattle.
I can see excusing Seattle.
But they ain't
I can see excusing San Diego. They got a good young quarterback.
I know Pittsburgh gonna make a call.
Anybody else, even the Cowboys. As much as I love Dak, I need to know where his health is at. But you're not gonna get anything for him right now because nobody knows where his health is at. I think he'll come back better than ever. But it would be the prudent thing to do is to at least have a conversation. Not saying for the Cowboys, I'm saying for other teams. Because there are some teams out there that have, they've got good arm talent.
Yeah, and I see the Time Shaker Poor said, "What about Claypool? Claypool is great. He's a vertical threat.
Yeah, no,
he's young, but he's not.
It's not about Pittsburgh. It's not. I'm sorry, guys. Y'all have to go offline to have that conversation.
We just got, look, man.
No, there is no,
It's just football.
This is not just football. Y'all want to talk about the Steelers. This is not a Steelers conversation.
But I think, so here's the thing. What do you think the best fit for Deshaun Watson would be?
Out of Houston.
You say it don't matter where you go, just out of Houston.
Out of Houston.
All right, fair enough.
If I were the Saints, I know they have famous Jameis and Taysom Hill, but I'd send both of them packing. I'd be right there.
Yeah, you got that right. Well, staying on sports, something historic happened for I Love, our alma mater this week that I wanted to kind of put up on the screen and get your thoughts on. I think this is big. You had a lot of work you did with sports information. I worked
for Brother Sam Jefferson back in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, now I think this is huge, and it's a befitting institution of our caliber. We are striving to get into the upper echelon. In our minds, we're already there, but this is a concrete step in that right direction.
So let's talk about what this means, Charles, because what does this mean for fans, and particularly for people who don't live in the state, right, and can't really get to the games unless it's broadcast or unless they're able to travel in? What does this mean, and how big is this?
It gives them an opportunity to be able to stay connected to the university. And it gives the university the platform upon which to raise revenue and raise profile and have some real skin in the game toward the next step of actually being on television all the time. This gives you the power of the internet, harnesses live streaming of home events to keep your alumni and fan base connected no matter where you are in the world.
And so, the thing about this that I love, it's not just football and basketball. You can get access to all the sports. You could buy.
Yeah, you might want to run through the price list because I kind of missed it the first time.
Here we go. Let me blow that up.
You might want to blow that up a little bit because anybody, unless you're 5 years old, you're not going to be able to see that little, right? Yeah. So single football games are $25. You can get an all sports pass with the exception of football for $60, meaning that you can get baseball, men's basketball, soccer, women's basketball, volleyball, softball, all in one, right?
Right.
So I think
football is the only one that I don't see a season pass for. I think you have to do that on a single game basis.
Yeah, it's individual games.
Yeah,
and it's a good way for the university to have a product upon which they can raise revenue.
It makes sense. It's brilliant because I can't tell you how many times even I can't get to the game, want to be there, I pay that $25 and watch the game.
That's right.
And to watch it live, to be able to see it live is, and this gives them the resources, because when people complain, oh, we don't, the streaming breaks. No. When you got the resources to put the equipment and technology in place to do quality streaming, it's worth paying for. And so you got to have the resources to do that. And not only that, it gives a lot of experience to our students that's working in that department and getting degrees in journalism and that. So it's a win-win all the way around.
All the way around.
So I'm happy about that. I will be getting my passes to the games that I can't make for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that was big, man. I never thought I'd see the day we had that. So that's that. I was stoked about that. Definitely.
Yeah. I think the men's and women's tennis coach got an extension on her contract this week. And I think if you hadn't been checking it out, one of our Jacksonians that we know and love, Christopher Darrell Neely, and his crew have a great podcast that they do, Tiger Talk. And
Tiger Talk 1400.
That's right. So give them a listen, and you can get all the ins and outs of what's going on with the university. Not just sports; they have their finger on the pulse of the culture of Jackson State.
Great show. You can get it on anywhere you get your podcast. You'll find it, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify. It's there, and they get really insightful. I was just listening to them last night. They had an interview with the new defensive coordinator, Dennis Thurman. And a lot of people don't realize, it's like, well, Dennis Thurman. I said, I give you one word to know Dennis Thurman. And Neely brought it up on the podcast and made me go check it out. And I remembered that hit. He said, just Google Dennis Thurman and Harold Carmichael.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get introduced to Dennis Thurman. Mm-hmm. So that's what I expect, out of our defense. But I thought it was a great conversation. He had some great insight. It's just a great show if you want to learn about all the sports, whether it's bowling. They talk about it all to keep you abreast of what's going on in Jackson State's world of sports and the school. So I think also we got to give tribute, Charles, to your somebody that's near and dear to your heart that we lost this week that we don't want to neglect. That was a leader of your school, and I think you worked under her at one point. And I'll let you talk about it, but the great former dean of the school,
Dr. Robinson. Yes, that was not a reason, but yes, all props to Dr. Robinson. May her family, may she rest in peace. She gave a lot to the university.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
and I just heard that John Chaney passed today.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah. So definitely didn't know that. John Chaney, longtime Temple men's basketball head coach. And
that's right.
I certainly remember the days when he would go head to head against Georgetown and John Thompson and some of those guys. Do it with class. So much class. So absolutely. So Charles, man, you also gave me something else that I didn't want to miss. And you might have talked about it briefly. I'll come back to it because I think it's important, and I'll let you talk about Lloyd Austin. And
yeah, I mean, he rose through the ranks, and you can see this is from the American Academy of Diplomacy. He had to apply for a waiver just because the years of service. You have to have so many years before you can come back and serve as head of the Department of Defense. But this is huge. I think. I think for those who have ties to the military, I don't know about your fraternity, but certainly for my fraternity, we have ties that go all the way back to the War College, Colonel Charles Young. So to see this brother get elevated to a cabinet level position, and by all accounts, he is extremely gifted when it comes to intelligence and warfare and placing of people, an eye for talent. So it should be a very good fit. And it gives the country and the world a chance to see that we can do more when given opportunities to do more, and we have to make those opportunities. He wasn't just given the opportunity. He's very bright, and I'm pretty sure his credentials are double most anybody else that will be considered for the position. So, congratulations to he and Marshall. I talked about Representative Fudge, who was being elevated. So, yeah, I think this is important to highlight because it can now. We know for a fact it can be done, and that's just like I asked you the other day about female CEOs, and you told me there were some, but now I find out that the lady from was it Target is going to from Starbucks is going to where's she going?
Wait a minute, she's leaving already? She just got there.
Yeah, she just got elevated. How did I not send that to you?
What?
Hold on one second.
I missed that one. Oh, so okay. So two things. So Starbucks, yeah. So Starbucks, one of Starbucks executives, which was Stephanie, which was Brewer, is her last name, I think. Trying to remember her first name. Rosalind
Brewer.
She's going to Walgreens, I believe, as the CEO. But the new CEO of Starbucks is also a black lady, Melanie Hobson.
Yeah, but I asked you about Fortune 500 companies. Remember that?
Yeah, you did.
And you told me there were, and there are not until her.
No, well, let me see.
I just put that up what I just sent you. I have no reason to hit you with false facts.
Then I'm out of touch because I thought we did have some.
No.
Huh. All right. At one point we did. I guess we didn't anymore. There we go.
I just dropped it in the chat. Put it up so everybody can see it so we can verify that.
All right. Spelman, she's an HBC alum. I didn't realize that too. Spelman's Robin Brewer becomes the only black female overseer. Did not know that. I thought we, okay. Yeah. Well, because, at one point we had the CEO of Xerox was black, so I guess not anymore. So at the present time, we don't. Wow. That's sad. The numbers were bad before, but that means they were even worse than I thought.
Yeah. So kudos to her. I mean, I told you, I think that's extremely important because we want our black girls and black boys to have those highest level options available to them, and they have to see it. Sometimes, people can read about it, but you need to actually see it too.
And you're right, Charles. I was thinking of Ursula Burns, who was the CEO of Xerox, but she stepped down.
Mm-hmm.
She was the first and of a Fortune 500, and that left us with none. It's true.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. What else is on the agenda for the day, Liz?
So, the other thing that you had on the agenda that we were going to talk about, because we covered quite a few, was GameStop.
So, it's not so much GameStop that I want to talk about. It's Robinhood. Everybody's familiar with Nottingham and the parable of Robin of Locksley, who stole from the rich to give to the poor. Well, Robinhood is an investment app that prides itself on being for the everyman and having low fee structures so that more people can adopt habits of buying stocks and buying crypto, right? So what happens, and this story could get complicated, but I'm not gonna get on into all the ins and outs. But the part to me that should be troubling to everyone is this. Robinhood did not have enough money in their bank account to cover for the activity that was happening on their site, so they say. And so they had to halt trading right in the heat of people making money. Normally, when you think about people making money on Wall Street, you think about the hedge funds. Well, this was an opportunity for truly little people, meaning teenagers, young adults. I'm sure it was some corporate types that eased in there. But at the same time, this was a group of individuals called Wall Street's Bets. They put their heads together and they figured out a formula that would get them into the money round. So much so that they squeezed Melvin Capital until they had to take out some loans. And they say they weren't going into bankruptcy, but I'm sure they contemplated it once they got up to about $3 billion in losses.
I'm sure.
But it would seem that just because of how things happened on yesterday when they shut down trading and then they started liquidating people's GameStop positions, that they were more concerned about covering for the hedge fund, for the big guys, than they were for the little guys.
Fair enough.
And so that should be a cautionary tale about who you allow to hold your funds. It may be better to pay fees. If you ask me my personal opinion, it would be better to take a strong look at cryptocurrency. But whatever the case may be, take a closer look at who you are allowing to hold your funds, because in that instance, they stop right in the middle of the profit portion of it.
Well, yeah, because people start selling too.
Yeah, well, they stopped the buying and the selling because the buying was causing Melvin Capital and Citadel Capital to have to liquidate their position.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, think about it though, Charles. I mean, if stock, you have that much movement in stock, you already know statistically X amount of people want to cash out to realize the profit. It only becomes profit when you sell something and then it's subject to capital gain. And that is just paper money.
Yeah, but they'll learn about that later. The portion that they were doing was they were buying, and I understand valuations of companies and what are they really worth, but who are you to make that call when they're in the middle of that price going up? Because hedge funds short and long stocks all the time, and they fix the price how they want it. So why can't they, as retail investors? What gives a hedge fund manager more rights to do that than a retail investor?
Good point. Fair enough. I can't dispute you. I can't.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I mean, hey, to me, that was the best advertisement for Bitcoin and other crypto digital assets that could be made, because especially the decentralized portion of digital assets.
I agree. Let's go to the comments here. As Mike T said, Robinhood is living up to the name, but they robbing the poor and give it to the rich.
That's surely how it looked, and it was like that old blues song, Everything I Know.
Ooh, that's an oldie but goodie right there.
Yeah.
So, well, Charles, as we and I'm gonna open up the comments, guys. If you want to get some comments in, put them in right now. Any questions you have of anything we talked about today, whether it's Marshall Fudge, General Lloyd Austin, Deshaun Watson, anything, the the question room are open. Just get your questions, and I get them up on the screen. We'll deal with them. So while they're doing that, Charles, go ahead.
Oh, and in other news, Amanda Gorman signed a contract with IMG Modeling Agency this week. So she's gonna be performing at the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So her star is ascending, and rightfully so. She's a very talented young lady.
Very, very. I joked last week, I was teasing somebody to say, what would you say if I told you I mentored her? And everybody's like, well, I tell you was telling the story, you would be absolutely right. I don't know her. But and with a gift like she had, she would have had to go to somebody else other than me. But very happy for her. And I think we'll hear a lot more to come from her in the future.
Here's one thing that we hadn't touched on that I hear is giving some people indigestion, and that's the number of executive orders that President Biden has signed in 1 week's time. I say good for him. All this talk about unity is giving me indigestion because it's a false flag. Republicans are not showing that they are serious about coming to the table, especially when they're saying that insurrection or siege of the Capitol is something that you should just gloss over.
Well, I agree. I think we both would say it's not something you should gloss over by any means. But
then I mean, you think about what they're saying, and they know better because these are highly educated people. They're saying that now just because he's not president any longer is unconstitutional to impeach him, which is not what the Constitution says. If that was the case, then everybody would just resign before they got in trouble. So here we go again with the lies and disinformation, and then they get people believing that, and it creates a cycle that continues to go downwards toward violence and ugliness.
I agree. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality we live in. And we're at a point we got to get things done. And so you make every attempt to be bipartisan. You make every attempt to meet in the middle, but you can only meet in the middle if the other person is walking halfway. And so if you can't, you got to do what you got to do.
That's right. Yeah. I agree with you on that. It's time to do what we need to do to help the people.
I agree. And speaking of that, we got a couple of comments in here. So Willie Mae said, I came in on the end of the vaccine conversation. Are both of you in favor? Simple yes or no. All right. So Willie Mae, for me, I can speak yes. I'm going to take the vaccine as soon as I have the opportunity to do so.
Yes, everybody should take it. Mm-hmm. Consult with your doctor. I'm not a doctor, but everybody that's eligible to take it should talk to their doctor and see if it's right for them.
So Willie Mae, you posed the question, so I'd be curious to know what your answer to that question is. So, being that Willie Mae is a nurse and been a nurse for a long time, so she said great, all emphatic capital letters. So that's good stuff. So, and I think we've got to get that messaging out to. And I think Charles said the best thing ever: consult with your physician to make sure you're a good candidate. We're not doctors, but if you're asking me what I'm doing, I'm taking it. I've already consulted with my doctor, and I'm just waiting to where I can get in line to take it.
That's right.
Waiting on the call. Call me up. I'll be right there. In fact, if I got the call right now, Charles, like, Charles, finish the show, man. I got to go.
That's right.
So, Charles, as we head to the end here and we wrap it up, why don't you give what I'm kind of sensing and picking up on is that people are getting tired. They're tired of the pandemic. They're tired of frustration of the struggle. and it could be in any way. They're tired, just tired of something. And a lot of times when people look at us, they think that we don't, get those same walls or obstacles or hurdles, that life is just always easy or always works out the way we plan. And I remind everybody I am no different than you. Probably have a few more obstacles, but I'm no different. I'm not obstacle less, for sure. What's your words of inspiration, good professor?
You want words? You want me to? What do you want me to do here? Because I'm not really the person that you go to for that huggable moment. But here's what I will tell you. Suck it up, Buttercup. Because no matter how we got here, we are here. And if you continue to go out and not follow the rules and not wear your mask, we are going to continue to have people dying around us, especially people that you love. Forecasted right now for another 100,000 deaths. So I would say, let's be real. Let's be practical. Everybody wants to get out. As Roy Ayers would say, everybody loves the sunshine. But I think I told you way back when we were talking about this, when it was barely a pandemic. Now is the time for you to go into your woodshed, sharpen your tools, and chop wood until you come out with a new skill set. Focus on that. New ideas, new creativity, new energy. Because the world is changing around you. The world will not be the same.
No.
So this is an opportunity for you to seize the day before they turn the lights back on.
Yeah.
So that's my message. Instead of looking at it as woe is me, get in there and do what you need to do so that you come out on top. And that requires you to be safe, to be smart, and be creative.
Well, there it is. You heard it. And we'll end the show on that. Stay safe. Continue to wear your mask. Continue to push on, even when you don't feel like it, because it's the right thing to do, and it's what we all need to do so that we can one day push right on out of this pandemic. Until next time, have a good one. Have a safe one. Go JSU Tigers. And even though my Padre don't like it, go Pittsburgh Steelers.